talk about making a big splash. Last year, Americans consumed 7.5 billion gallons of bottled water. Today, there are more than 300 brands to choose from, and the American market for bottled water is the world's largest. So why the flood of bottled water? We decided to get a clearer picture. Water, water everywhere. Last year, Americans spent more than $10 billion on a drink we can all get for free: water. Over the past decade, consumption of bottled water has more than doubled, with 2/3 of people now choosing to buy their H2O. Why? Check out the marketing. Gallon for gallon, some bottled water is more expensive than gas. But is it worth the price? We caught up with a corporate accountability group staging an informal taste test, trying to show that without the fancy packaging, the distinctions aren't as clear. Most had trouble.
I couldn't tell any difference between bottled or PET.
I was able to tell the difference, but there wasn't a significant difference.
I was surprised that it's very hard to tell the difference.
We decided to compare both under the microscope to check purity, mineral content, and potential contaminants. We tested a few popular brands of bottled water and tap water from our own Studio 1A kitchen sink and our offices at 30 Rock and in Burbank, California. We also tested filtered water, all to find out if those bottles contain better water or if their claims are all wet. We shared the test results with Ronnie Sandroff and her team. She's the Director of Health Information at Consumer Reports. Hi, Ronnie.
Hello.
Good morning. Nice to see you. It's amazing what a huge business this is, right?
Yes, it is.
And whether it should be or not, I guess, remains to be seen. When you looked at the test results, is there in essence any difference between the health benefits of tap water versus bottled water?
Well, what your lab showed was that your tap water in New York and in California was perfectly safe. And also all the bottled waters were safe and met their standards. So that's good news. Whatever you choose, you're not really putting yourself at serious health risk.
Well, I know that they did come up in the tap water in Burbank and in New York with chlorine byproducts, right?
Right.
Tell me what those are and if there are any cause for concern.
Well, when water is in a reservoir, you need to add chlorine to it to keep it clean for the consumer. And it does produce some byproducts, which in large amounts can be a health risk. But water systems have gotten much more sophisticated about adding chlorine and monitoring. They constantly test. So although you did find some chlorine byproducts in the tap water and in some bottled water, they were not at high levels at all.
New York is fortunate. I've always heard that New York City has very high quality tap water. First, is that true?
It tastes good to me.
Yeah, I like it too. But the question is, other people who don't live in New York or Burbank or live in other communities, how do you find out about the quality of your tap water to ensure its safety for your family?
Well, if you call your local utility, they're required by law to send you a water report. They're not all that easy to read, but you can look up online and get explanations for the various levels.
Okay, but in general, tap water nationwide is a pretty good quality because the higher level of sophistication?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
I would say that almost all American water is safe to drink.
It's amazing then that so many people are buying bottled water. I think primarily because of convenience, don't you think? Because they can take it and go and take it to the gym and tap it in their purse, etc.
And it's a healthier choice than a sweetened drink if you're out and about and you need something to drink.
Right.
It also has a certain cachet of healthiness caused by, I think, the marketing.
Right. You used to see supermodels carrying these big bottles of Evian, and you'd think, oh, I want to be just like them, so I want to carry one too. But let's talk about the marketing ploys, because not all bottled water is created equal, and they have different claims, right? Like purified. Can you just quickly explain that?
The water that is purified water, and I think a lot of people don't know this, can actually be municipal water that's been cleaned either through a carbon filter or if it's like Smart Water, the distilled water, it's a heat process.
Right.
So that water still, your test showed that some of these purified waters still had some chlorine byproducts in them.
Right. And then you have things like spring water, right, Ronnie?
Right. Now, spring and artesian water, it's another form of spring water, do not have chlorine added to them because it comes up from underground and it doesn't need the chlorine, so they are free of all chlorine byproducts.
Okay, so are these for any reason healthier for you?
If you're concerned about those byproducts, there's something you can use the tap water and use it through a water filter pitcher. And
Right.
that will take out, your test showed it took out a lot of the chlorine byproducts.
Right, so...
I mean, a point about the bottled water is that some are very expensive and some are inexpensive. You tested one grocery store brand and they were all the same.
But they don't really, it's funny because people probably don't think the generic brands have quite the cachet of some of the
Right.
better known brands because of marketing.
Right, and there's a taste, there might be taste differences.
Right, I know, like I don't like the taste of Evian, but I like the taste of Poland Spring. I think you just get used to it. And you said this has a high mineral content?
Yes, your test showed it had a high mineral content. So some people like that and some people don't.
Okay, and finally, I think it's a really important point that I learned a couple of years ago, that bottled water for kids is not a good thing necessarily because it's absent of the fluoride needed to prevent cavities, right?
That's right. And people who drink only bottled water should consider fluoridated water.
Right.
Because fluoride is added to our tap water, and now some manufacturers are adding it. And one other point to remember is that these bottles are filling up the landfill. If you do use plastic bottles, you should recycle them or reuse them, wash them out like you would a glass, and reuse them.
And when it comes to kids and fluoride, using tap water is probably a good idea too, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to necessarily buy bottled water that has fluoride added
Right.
to get the benefits.
Exactly.
All right, well, it's interesting, and hopefully you're going to save a lot of people some money and make them smarter consumers, right? All right, Ronnie Sandroff, Director of Health Information at Consumer Reports, thanks so much.